just hired these employees who I harassed, abused, made them work long, strenuous hours, and I'm gonna hire them in plain sight with a known pedo. Will they find them? Let's see. All right, so the last time we were exposing Mr. Beast and the Beast Industries, we were talking about Ava Chris Tyson, a longtime friend and employee who was in the Discord with minors saying weird things and honestly was supporting some sort of artist who was drawing kids in unsavory situations. It's disgusting work. He was accused of rigging events and games and not following through with the payouts in these situations. There were long-standing disputes between former employees and current friends and all these different things like that. And then he had an Amazon game show where the conditions were tremendously horrible, where people were having to sleep in dirty underwear, having their underwear taken for God knows what reasons at all. But so now we head back to NC to figure out how we see Mr. Beast in this new light, where he has apparently abused his way to the top, and he's got an even stranger employee than Ava Chris Tyson, who apparently is a confirmed rapist. Now, if you've been living under a rock, you don't know who Dogpack 0404 is, but he's a former Mr. Beast employee who really popped the top on Mr. Beast, and he's been bashing his brains in order to get to the meat and potatoes of the conversation as to why Jimmy isn't the guy that we think he is. And now he's back, but this time he's brought a friend and somebody that he met on set while working at Beast Industries to lay down the law as to why Jimmy Beast is doing some things that don't meet compliance.
I'm Jake Weddle. Most people who, if you know me from MrBeast, I'm a deep cut, purposefully kept to the shadows a little bit. I'm in the cutting room floor, but I've been in some videos. I've worked on a lot of them. I was there from 2019 to 2020, 2021-ish when I came back and did some more. I was there when they were authentic, and then I saw the transition to what I feel like is a company. He's like a TV show now. It went from YouTuber guy with a camera, Amazon. There was a vibe. There was half the people who, if you made Jimmy happy, you were on the good half. And these people got random bonuses and were usually moved up, had more screen time. And then there was people who, if you had a disagreement or butt heads with Jimmy or just you didn't like it. Oh, it feels so good to say. I don't like Jimmy. I hate you so much. He didn't want anyone to get more popular or have more of a way out necessarily. Like, oh, I'm doing my Twitch thing on the side. Don't do that because you could get famous and leave.
Now, no, this isn't your average Beast Bash video. We're going to be giving a lot of context and actual factual opinions on here, because I think that a lot of this is dog piling on Mr. Beast in a sort of way. However, there's no way that we can excuse what I'm about to say next, because this should actually be very concerning about Mr. Beast. First off, unlike our friend Dogpack at the Dog Pound, we're gonna start off by saying Mr. Beast and Beast Productions had a manager who was convicted of being a pedo and a rapist. It's the biggest reveal in the world.
Well, there was a known sex offender, registered sex offender, convicted sex offender on the registry and everything, who worked there.
No, wait a minute, pause. You could get on the registry for peeing outside in public, okay? And those people at the dog pack should know that. They know what dogs do. So this shouldn't be a situation where we just jump out the window and accuse this guy of doing stuff that's too crazy. Jimmy wouldn't know that. Jimmy wouldn't employ that, right? Right?
Yeah, you go to prison, you get rehabilitated, that's one thing. You know, like if you do your time, that's fine. From what I hear, I can't confirm or deny, he's on the registry for doing some not great stuff to some underage people. And they knew that. He's working at a channel that has underage people on and around and is targeted to underage people. And they covered up the fact that not only did he work there, but he was like the manager when it all started.
Oh my God.
You know that he knew, and he'll be in videos. He'll be in thumbnails. He'll be around. And whenever he's wearing a mask. Why would you wear a mask? Why would you conceal your face? It's like, what are you concealing? How much more can you literally cover up a sex offender?
Well, Jimmy.
That fuck 'em up.
Now, there are a lot of questions here, and I'm glad that the internet has its detectives, because that is a pretty damning claim that should really be taken very seriously about Jimmy and the rest of the organization over there. Now, why do you hire that man and put him in a mask? That's because, thanks to the internet anarchists, we can see that this person is the person in question. And you can pull up their whole public background and identity thanks to Google. Shouts out to the Google. Now, I know a lot of people are asking, how does Mr. Beast hire a guy like this and not know who he is? The answer is right here in Jake the Viking, Jake Franklin, former Mr. Beast employee, finding out that that is his actual brother. He writes out to say, here's the truth. Yes, Delaware is my brother-in-law. Yes, he is a RSO. I don't know why he typed it out like that. When he was 21, a 16-year-old girl accused him and others of SA when she was 11. Delaware took a plea deal. That's why there was no jail time, but he still had to register. His nickname isn't Delaware because he can't go back to Delaware. He's from Delaware. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. He's been back several times. He was hired before I was and was actually actually the reason I got hired at MrBeast. Before being hired, Delaware sat down with Jimmy and Sue, Jimmy's mom, and explained to them everything. So yes, Jimmy knew. But again, this incident happened in 2010. Delaware was hired in 2017/18. Delaware was also let go from the company before I was. Delaware was supposed to be a behind the scenes manager, but in a couple videos he was asked to partake because we needed people. He was reluctant, especially in the straight jacket video because of his charges, and that's why he wore the mask. Delaware's charges are set to be dropped this fall. Delaware has been nothing but a good person, an amazing husband to my sister, and the best father to my two nieces that I could ever ask for. They want no part in this, and I just want them to live their lives away from the limelight. Now he ends this with something that is pretty interesting to say. He says, in this case of Delaware, I firmly believe he did nothing wrong and look forward to the day these charges are dropped. Now I get it. You believe your brother. That's a little weird because he took a plea deal. I don't know how this young girl could accuse him and others of essaying him when she's 11 years old and shouldn't really know anything about any of this. That's just a very strange type of thing. This isn't some situation where, oh, this person is 21 and these are some different ages where like they're really close together or whatever. No, this person claimed this happened when she was 11, gang. And I can even maybe give some sort of leeway, I really can't, to be honest with you, to Jimmy and Sue, Jimmy's mom, hiring him to be behind the scenes. But at no point should he have even taken place of being on the camera. At that point, you bring somebody else in off the street who doesn't have any history or backstory with you guys. Cause it is super strange that even he knew it was weird and he decided to wear a mask, like Weedle said, hiding his identity. That's just weird. That's weird. I don't know how else to put it.
We're going to destroy everything in this house and then replace it with new, better, more expensive things. Basically give her a home makeover. Yeah.
Oh my
and
God,
surprise her.
dude.
Like what? Your wife's in Connecticut. This is actually perfect.
Now, I know a lot of people are going to say I'm being too critical, and you know, you got to reward people when they do the right things. He did end up firing the PDF file, so of course we got to give MrBeast and his collective a round of applause for that. And his 4th degree rape charges was a settlement. So like, it's not like that means he didn't do it. You know, I don't know. Now, will this affect Mr. 308 million subscriber MrBeast and his channel and say, hey, I'm not going to support or be around this guy, whatever the case may be? To be honest with you, I do not think so. Like literally, MrBeast just dropped his new toy line of toys made for kids.
In this ad, I'm gonna tell you about the greatest toy on earth, MrBeast Lab Swarms.
Just mix them, shake them, and create your MicroBeast. This one is the rarest of them all, the Hyperchrome Micro Panther Swarms, each sold separately.
I think this is like probably the easiest way to get close to kids. And I just think that this is very tone deaf of you, MrBeast. Go ahead, try to get close to kids, give them a toy. It's just weird. Now, I will say with the timing of this hiring and this guy's position back in the day, it's pretty safe to say that MrBeast and MrBeast Industries didn't have the rigorous hiring process that they do now. You know, he sat down with Jimmy and Jimmy's mom, and that's probably who it all was. And they sat down and talked about the situations before. That's all that process was back in the day. It is pretty strange to think about it now, though, that they had a known registered PDF file doing all this stuff and coming on to be a manager, where I'm sure he's setting up a lot of these events and situations and videos, to then also having Ava Chris Tyson, who is a known supporter of a CP artist, all doing this while running this multi-million-dollar media company that is geared towards kids. But while that is the biggest news, that isn't the only news that came out of this whole situation reveal from the Dog Pack. Now, we talked about the onboarding and hiring process. Mr. Dog Pack and several other employees corroborated this story that some of the stuff from back then, how they onboarded employees, was just a little bit weird. They even leaked an onboarding document.
No does not mean no. Wild thing to have is corporate policy emphasizing the intense pressure that contestants like Weddle would be subjected to routinely. Own your mistakes. I hate excuses, and I despise with my entire soul when people just try to save face instead of learn from how they messed up. Own stuff so we can address how to fix it and then move on. Those appear to be the words of Jimmy Donaldson, MrBeast himself, and I think it's more than fair to say them back to him now. Despising with your entire soul when people just try to save face is fundamentally incompatible with the mass deletion of evidence regarding alleged illegal lottery streams, and it certainly doesn't mean obfuscating the identity of a convicted registry offender.
I'm not gonna lie, he kind of cooked with that one. Now, in this document, you have MrBeast's gamified workplace tasks like completing the onboarding, and you get awarded $1,000. But what should be taken more into consideration is this section section where Jimmy is like advocating for pushing employees that actually work at the company or employees of random places that they go to out in the day-to-day life where they might not, you know, things where they might need something to access a venue or get a free bag of chips times 1,000 over, you know, pushing the limits of what the employee may be comfortable with, which ultimately might risk the employee that they're asking's job to be in question, and titling it under no means no. We are never going to take no as some sort of answer. I think that's a pretty weird section to have, knowing who you employed, but I understand. Some might even interpret the documentation as to say that MrBeast would ask his employees to harass people to get what he needs out of this. Now, is this necessarily bad, or is this that, hey, never say never attitude popping out from one of the biggest and most successful YouTubers in the business? Now, I do want to keep in mind here, he is advocating for people to basically pressure employees and employers to do things that they wouldn't explicitly do, especially after they explicitly said no. But I do know that to make an omelet, you've got to crack some eggs, which means going the further mile and pressuring these people. Now, if people come out and say extreme stories about how, I don't know, MrBeast employees camped out in front of their house for 10 or 15 days before they could gain access to their place of employment, that would be a totally different story, and I would not be advocating for that. But I don't think it's too far-fetched to say that sometimes you gotta go past a limit or another limit and be a little bit obsessive in order to be successful. Now, there's some other philosophy shared in that document in the work on multiple videos every single day section that are good in theory, but Jimmy writes it kind of strange. It makes for this weird workplace environment. Now, there is room for some hyperbole in his writing. I won't take that away from him, but he has this mentality of, hey, you are going to let your partner, your coworker, your neighbor, or whatever fail if that means working on what you're working on and getting it done as soon as possible. And I know a lot of people are being critical about this, but I will say this is a young, driven guy. Like, Jimmy MrBeast got to where he is because he had this one focused mind of being the best content creator he could be. And he's not a professional by any means, so sure, some of the wording is gonna come off very lax. In that document, I mean, he's definitely cursing, but essentially he is just trying to put his passion onto others in writing, and that's how it can come off sometimes. Especially because it was established in the video that he didn't have a HR department or any of the other professional things that a lot of these other companies have in the current climate to, you know, talk to employees, etc., etc. So how serious are we taking some of these things, like this email that was shown about MrBeast? There was a recent email that was sent out right after the Ava Chris Tyson situation from the Beast team that says, company confidential, do not distribute. But naturally, because we're on the internet, we have access to it. It says that I wanted to update you all on the recent concern that have been raised online and in the press. As I mentioned in my tweet a couple weeks ago, we've hired Quinn Emanuel, a top law firm, to do a full investigation on the Ava Tyson allegation. We also asked them to expand the scope to include a full assessment of our internal culture, investigate allegations of inappropriate behavior by people in the company. While the process is not complete, I have enough preliminary research at this point that I am announcing several changes as of today. And I think these changes are very interesting, so that's why we're reading them. First change is hiring a new chief human resource officer. We will be bringing in a seasoned leader to help us build a more inclusive environment and a world-class HR team. Mandatory training. We are implementing mandatory training sessions on safety, sexual harassment, LGBTQ, diversity and sensitivity training, and workplace conduct for all employees. Listening sessions. Jeff will be holding listening sessions across the company to hear directly from employees about their experiences and ideas of improvement. Anonymous reporting. We are establishing an anonymous reporting mechanism to ensure everyone feels safe coming forward with their concerns. And external review. We have engaged an independent firm to conduct a thorough review of our policies and practices and implement changes. Now, a lot of people are being critical of MrBeast, even in this email, for some pretty valid concerns. Why do you have such a big platform? Why do you have such a big company and you don't have some of these structures in place? Like, it's not like he doesn't have some sort of legal team advising him. It's not like he doesn't have some sort of, you know, management team advising him that, hey, you need to get these standard things in place in order for you to grow, succeed, or whatever the case may be. It's kind of like your parent telling you, hey, you're starting to get money. You don't need to have the money laying around in your hands or wherever else in your room. You need to get a bank account. That is just something standard that you do. So you have a huge company where you're employing hundreds of people at this point, and now you say to yourself, well, I should probably get an HR department. You probably should have got one well beforehand. The only thing that I can say is that Jimmy is pretty hands-on when it comes to his company, so some of these things may have slipped his mind in the regards of, let me do what I need to do to best secure me, myself, my company, and just have a safe work environment. From what I understand, MrBeast is pretty hands-on involved in the video making processes, and he's doing interviews and has so many other things going on that some of these things could just slip slipped through the cracks. He's young. It's a company that went from here to here in a small matter of time. I don't think people really understand that. If you look at the growth of a lot of American companies, it took decades, or some of them have never reached the level of MrBeast company. So the fast expansion of the company can cause it to do what it did right here, which is let some of the standard things slip through the crack. But I'm not giving that as some sort of an excuse for anybody that met any sort of injustice during their time of working at MrBeast. And there's another section in that previous document that says own your mistakes, which again is a good concept and it's good in theory, but is MrBeast doing the same thing in practice? We should hear MrBeast speak up about the things that people are claiming to be done while they're on set or while they're working for MrBeast. You know, like the horrid living conditions, the taking of underwear, the employees that suffered some sort of abuse at the hands of the company. We should hear him say his own words. No, I don't want to see some generated tweet that says, hey, I didn't know about my best friend since childhood doing these certain things while we then have proof come out that you were in the discords with them. No, I don't want to see some email that's typed up by some legal firm. MrBeast should honestly drop a main channel video if he's talking about owning his mistakes. Now, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about Mr. Weedle in this situation, because he does talk about some of the stuff that he had dealt with while being at Beast Industries. And a lot of them just seem kind of weird to MrBeast because it takes away the human element from the contestants and what are supposed to be his friends, because we need the content.
I get a call from somebody over there, and they go, hey, they want you for a video. But what's the video? And they try to make the pitch sound like it's gonna be like a walk in the park. The pitch is 100 days in solitary confinement, but don't worry, like you only have to last like 30, we have like a video. They were like, it's only gonna be bad for you to last like 5 days tops when you have like nothing left. You're the first, it's gonna be like a breeze for most of it. The little things started to build up, you know, there was like a bug thing wasn't like terrible, but it was a factor, and like at first it was fine, you know, and you're playing it up, like, cause you know it's a video. It got to a point where like, they weren't turning the lights off. The lights are on me all the time. I wasn't sleeping. I could not sleep, and I have insomnia problems now. But they might have started there. So the thing that made me I gotta get out. I can't do another day in here. Jimmy comes in and I'm asleep. I don't know what time it is. I don't know, it's like 2 or 3 or whatever. He's like, why is he sleeping? I don't know, because I can't sleep. And he comes in, he wakes me up, and he goes, ask me why I have 2 briefcases. And I'm like, why do you have 2 briefcases? And he goes, oh, because this one's for today, you know, and this one's for the challenge. And I go, what's the challenge today? You're gonna run a marathon. You're gonna do it on that treadmill over there. And I wanted to get the boost, and I wanted the cash, and so I start running at 12. I asked him, how long do I have? He goes, until I get back. And I'm running until 3 a.m. All right, I got off the treadmill. Oh, the blisters I had on my feet were like, you wouldn't believe, just all over, just these big red. I couldn't walk. My muscles were like, I got off the treadmill, and then the people that came in to like ice my feet, you know, make sure I was good. And that's when I was like, I'm done. I can't. I'm done. I'm out. I'm out. I get psych in, and I talk to the psych about how I'm not well. Like I said, there was a lot of good people over there that was saying, you got to pull him out. Yeah, I had friends that did some freelance work, and they would tell me, they'd be like, yeah, everyone knows you over there. Everybody loves you. They go, oh, Jake Weddle, love that guy. Shame what happened to him. And I asked them, I said, how much longer are you guys going to keep me in here? Realistically, like at least 7 more days? And they didn't let me leave right away either. They wanted to make sure, yeah, everything was fine. It's like they brought in all my friends, you know, to make it. They brought in all the people I liked. And Jimmy. He was sitting in the chair turned around like an evil villain. Swear to God. Everyone was looking at me, and he was like Lex Luthor over there. He turns around. He stands up, he does the exact same thing when he's pretending to have a human connection. He's like, oh, stop, you're gonna make me cry. As if rehearsed by his lawyers. Your mental health's the most important thing, you know, I just wanna make sure you're okay. And the last thing we want you to do is, I can almost hear the word Sue come out of his mouth. The S, he just stopped right before I got out. I did not get the 300K. He goes, think of it this way. At least you get to keep what you earned. You know, you were in there for XYZ days. You did XYZ challenges, so you got 100,000 some change.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. And I know a lot of people are gonna give flack to Jake and any other former MrBeast employee that's gonna come out and say harsh or disparaging things about the working conditions. They'll say, you saw these things, you witnessed these things, and challenge after challenge, time after time, you decided to stay. Hell, they're giving MrBeast's girlfriend the same sort of flack right now because she recently came out and decided to tell her truth or her stories as to some of what came out of the situation. I don't know, her message is really, really vague. But the only thing that I can say to those people that are gonna give those people people who live this experience any sort of flack is cut them some damn grace. Especially in the nature of content creation or even just small business in general. There's this idea or allure of a family-friendly, you know, we're all kumbaya environment that is created for the purpose of what I feel, getting these people to believe that some of the things that we are doing here is okay. Some of these people were even friends of friends or family. They're put on by somebody else and they don't even want to come off weird for the fact that, hey, if I leave, if I say something, my family is going to receive some sort of punishment or backlash because of this. And also, we act like there's so many opportunities for a lot of people out there. This is a good paying opportunity. I will give MrBeast that. The idea that you can make $100,000 is something that is not just something you can walk into. There's a lot of reasons why people would decide to stay even through all these things. Now, granted, I don't think that they should be letting people just go by and get injustices done by them. I won't be condoning that. But let's cut the crap and stop giving all the blame to these people who are victims in these situations when we should be targeting the primary perpetrator of the said abuse. Now, I get it. Once you reach these certain heights and levels and stuff like that, screws got to be loose to get there, gang. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. I don't think that a sane person is somebody who is uber successful to that level. I think all of them are some sort of narcissist, entitled, egotistical, all these things that you want to say once you get to this level of celebrity. Hell, even I smell myself a little bit when somebody says, oh Meezy, I watched the video. But that does not give justification for the actions of the biggest celebrities. And we've seen those this year in full effect, I think, with like the P. Diddy's of the world, with the Drakes of the world. We are not giving them any sort of grace just because this is what it takes to make the big leagues. Now, I would like to see what happens in the future. It may be good, it may be bad. The good could be MrBeast cleans it up, tidies his act, and some of these things don't happen anymore while he can continue to go on and be the best person that he could be. The bad could be, and it would be bad for us as content creators, is that MrBeast causes his own mini adpocalypse because advertisers say that this is not the man that they want to put their ad dollars to, which ultimately trickles down to other YouTubes, which we have seen in the past before. Especially when there are channels like More Pegasus who are turning themselves into platforms in which they seemingly only talk about MrBeast for the past 9 days. And there's a lot to talk about, don't get me wrong, but I know a lot of people will not be looking at that as like the best thing for the platform as a whole when it comes to these ad dollars. I don't know, maybe I need to put my employees through some of these sorts of conditions in order to get my channel up to 308 million subscribers. Hey, get back to work. Get back to work.